I think you have to move back a little bit because we're only getting your lips. That's better.
You want to see me?
We need to see you.
Okay.
So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for choosing the great vibes and good, glorious music live syndicated phone-in show. And on the show today, we have the one and only, we've got to call him the Emperor of Dub, the Emperor of Music, Emperor, Mad Professor. I mean,
yes.
Mad Professor. I think I know why they call you the Mad Professor. I think I do.
Why is that?
Because
Why?
I remember coming to the studio way before I was there trying to sing. I can't remember how I was there or why I was there, but I was absolutely fascinated the way that you was working that. Was it a 24-track desk? The big
what
one.
year would that be? 1984? I think it was around 83 or 84 even.
I know I was much younger. And
you were a young girl.
Yes. Why was I there? Do you remember?
I remember. Very young. And you were the lead singer or the singer in a band. And I remember there were a few guys and you were the only girl. And then the next time I saw you after that, I think you were a DJ. But when I first knew you, you were actually a singer front in a band.
Really?
Yeah, you remember?
No, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't.
You were singing with the band.
But I can't sing. That's probably why the band didn't make it. I don't remember that. I just remember, this is what I remember. I remember coming to see, being in your studio. And I remember watching you mixing a track.
Right.
And the way you were riding that desk, you know, it was just absolutely phenomenal. You were like a jockey. You were from one end to the other and you were pressing buttons and sliding faders and the bass was dropping in and dropping out. And, you know, and that's why I think they call you the Mad Professor. No?
Yeah, that's one of the reasons. But also, you know, I get called because I was just against the grain. When I started to build my studio, everyone laughed because, you know, it wasn't like now you get a Mac and a microphone and you got a studio. When I was building a studio, you had to have some kind of electronic knowledge. You had to put together different elements, different transistors and resistors, and you needed a lot of money. So I was mad. And then, you know, everybody thought you can't make a studio. You need millions and thousands and millions of pounds to build a studio. And they were right. But if you knew how to build equipment, then you would shortcut that journey to building a studio, because you would, instead of buying equipment, you would make a lot of equipment. And that's one of the reasons why I ended up with a moniker, you know. And then people would come to the studio and they'd see loads of wires and they'd shake their head and they'd think, that can't work. That's madness. That's too much wires. But when they hear it, that's when they say, okay, now we know.
Now we know.
Yeah,
well, you didn't have YouTube at in them days to learn, because everything
nothing.
Now we go to YouTube. Where did you get your knowledge from?
Sorry?
So we didn't have YouTube back in those days to instruct us. So where did you get your knowledge from? You know?
Well, it started from my curiosity of everything, because in our house, we weren't loaded. There were two electrical things in our house, light bulb and a radiograph. And I was, you know, I was a kid then, about 5 years old. And I'd say to my Mom, why is that man in the radio? What's that man doing in the radio? And he's singing today, and yesterday he was talking, and she tell me, there's no man in the radio. So one day she went to work and I got a screwdriver. I went to the back of the radio And I went, Kurtz, 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 and looked for the man in the radio. And of course, there was no man in the radio. He came in, she gave me two licks. She said, what's the matter with you? You want to mash up my radiogram? So I said, yeah. She said, go to the library, get a book, and read about it. And that's what I done. Went to the library, get a book, and I read about current and voltage and resistance. And within the next year or so, I built my first radio. And that's why they call me mad, because when all the kids around wanted to play cricket and marbles and mommy and daddy and that kind of thing, I was building radios.
Wow.
And I was building all kinds of devices. So, it's been a journey.
And so did you go on to do like any electronic courses,
Courses?
or have you just kind of
Yeah,
developed it all
I mean,
yourself?
No, I did a few courses, but I got bored. I mean, there was a course that they used to do, what was it? Electronic and electrical engineering studies. And I would start these courses, then I would leave them alone. I would drop out because I'd find what the guy is teaching me, I already know. So, I didn't find it interesting. What was helpful though is when I was a teenager, just over a teenager, I got a few jobs. And one of the jobs I got was a job at Soundcraft, a mixing desk company. And that kind of showed me how to like formularize what I learned already, and it taught me how a mixing desk worked from the inside of the mixing desk. And I started to then build my own mixing desk. And from then, I built my own studio because I knew, like the block diagram and the inside of the mixing desk. So yeah, I mean, I don't have no qualifications in
Aside.
music or in electronics.
So
Nothing at all. Everything I learned, I taught myself.
and so at which point then did you decide that with the skill that you have, I know that you built the studio, but
Yeah.
at which point did you decide, well, I want to make music? And how did you decide what kind of music you was going to make? Because you're obviously the dub master.
Well, I was crazy about King Tubby's. When I first heard dub, I thought, you know what? There's no music like dub. You could walk to it, you could drink to it, you could sleep to it. Dub is like a blank canvas. You could paint what you want on the canvas. And dub is like that. If you're a songwriter and you got a dub track, it could help you to write your songs. And so one of the first dubs I heard was actually a dub of an Al Green track, Look What You Done to Me. And I was just fascinated in how it became like a framework for like DJs and a framework for other singers to perform on, So I thought, well, I'd love to make some dubs. So I built myself a guitar as well.
You built a guitar?
Yeah. I built myself a bass and I started to put things together. And then, I just thought I'd love to have a studio. Then I could make my own dubs. And it started from there, and it grew. Then different guys started to come around and record and rehearse. They were using the studio like a cheap way to rehearse, and I was happy because I was getting some proper musicians putting down some tracks. I bought myself some microphones and a piano. And the next thing I know, the whole thing took off.
How old was you
You know,
by this time?
this time I was about 21, 22.
Wow.
I get people start to come, people that I heard about, people like Laurel Atkin, Desmond Decker,
What?
Horace Mount Wallace. And I thought this is legendary, and next thing I know, people wanted to come and record professionally, and okay, I was working doing some electronic jobs at that time. Though I was bored with it, I really wanted to leave. And I think the people at work in where was it, in Chertsey or something like that, somewhere in Surrey, they could feel that I was bored, right? And one Monday morning I went in, the guy started to pick on my work, and I just tell him, listen, man, up yours. And I went back home. And when I went back home, I had 2 phone calls. One was from Moambasa, the song man, and Beres Bassa and Bagger John, them lot. They wanted to do some recording. Then I had a call from Jashaka, who was interested in doing some recording as well. So that week I was quite busy with those guys. And I earned myself a bit more than when I was going to work. And I thought, hooray, I'm gonna do this,
Wow.
And I jump in, but for the next 2 weeks I earned nothing, and then gradually it started to find itself in place. In the meantime, I found some local artists. I had like Sister Audrey, I had Deborah Glasgow lined up, I had Sergeant Pepper. They all would come around and do songs, and I mean the whole thing. This is around 1980, 1981. Then the whole thing just woof until it became too much for the neighbors, because I was doing it all in my front room. The neighbor complained. He said he's trying to sleep, he can't go to work, and this guy keeping noise till the wee hours of the morning. And the local council wrote me a letter telling me that I must stop. So I looked about for premises, and I found this place in Peckham, which is where you came. You came to the studio in Peckham.
Right. Okay.
I think.
Yeah.
And by the time I went to Peckham, we had about 10 artists really. We had like Aquism, we had Davina Stone, Deborah Glasgow,
R.I.P.
Sister Audrey, Sergeant Pepper, Tony Benjamin. I had people coming to record like Reggae Regulars, Mikey Dread, Mikey Campbell. I had a few Jamaicans. I had Johnny Clark coming in. And it was clear then that the studio was getting established.
So let me just stick a pin in there for me, please, if we can just stick a pin in there.
Yeah.
We can't see you. All I'm getting is your mouth. And I thought, well, I'm not a dentist today, so... But we're going to find out why you are now called Ariwa. Is it Awiwa or Ariwa? Ariwa. But let's play one of your tunes, all right? So
Okay.
Until You Come Back to Me, it's a cover version. Why have you chosen to do that?
Right. Aretha is like the queen of soul, and it's not easy for anyone to sing a song that Aretha has made popular, because she remakes songs in her own unique way. And Until You Come Back to Me was actually written by Stevie Wonder. And it's a Motown song, though Aretha was never on Motown, and it's just a very, you know, a very special song,
Yeah.
and it's a song I wanted to cover from the early days, and I kind of started it with Deborah Glasgow, and we didn't finish it, but I perfected it a year later with this American girl called Just Dale. And I think this is the version you're going to play, right?
Just Dale. It's coming up
Yeah,
right
that's it.
now.
Just Dale.
Well, in case you've just joined us, thank you so much for choosing the great vibes and good, glorious music live syndicated phone-in show.
Though you don't call anymore, I sit and wait in vain. I guess I rap on your door, gonna tap on your window pane. I wanna tell you, baby, the changes I've been going through. Listen to you, till you come back to me. That's what I'm gonna do. Why did you have to decide that you had to set me free? I'm gonna swallow my pride. I'm gonna beg you to please, baby, please see me. I'm gonna walk all over myself just to prove that my love is true. Oh, for you, baby, till you come back to me. That's what I'm gonna do. Baby, when you were here, it was like living in a world of fantasy. Hear my plea, I've got to make you see that our love is dying. Ooh, I know it's fun to ignore, but somehow I must explain. I'm gonna rap on your door, gonna tap on your window pane. I'm gonna sit by your steps until I get through to you. Hey, till you come back to me. That's what I'm gonna do. Oh, baby, until you come back to me. That's what I'm gonna do. I'll be a fool. I'll be a fool for you. I'll be a fool for you. Love has no rules. I'll be a fool for you. I'll be a fool for you. I'll be a fool for you. Rap a tap on your door, rap a tap on your window. I got to change your views.
I can hear the famous what's that called? The echo
What's that?
chamber. Is that an echo chamber?
Yeah, delay.
Oh, it's a
Rhythm
delay.
delay, yeah, man.
Rhythm
Dun,
delay.
dun, dun, dun.
Kang.
Yeah.
You've frozen. Why have you frozen?
Am I frozen?
Yeah, you're
Moving.
frozen. Shake your phone.
Okay.
Hey, that's better. I see you've moved into the studio. So
Yeah, you-
tell me, how did you get the name Awiwa?
Well, Ariwa was a name that, in the 70s, was the kind of it's the first we're like the first generation that embraced Africa and African culture, because for years black people after slavery has been like discouraged from embracing Africa, right? And when I was thinking of starting first an electronic company, I thought I'd love to use an African name, right? And I was working with a couple of Nigerian guys, and you know, they kept looking at me and saying, you look Yoruba, you know, you could be Yoruba. And they have people that look like me, just like me in Nigeria. So I said, okay. I said, well, look, could you give me a name? Give me a Yoruba name, because I'm going to start a company. And they came up with about 3 suggestions. And one of the suggestions was actually Ariwo, Ariwo. And they said it means sound, and it means like just music. And I looked at it and I thought, I like this name, but I wasn't too sure of the O at the end. So I moved the O and I put the A and called it Ariwa. And
does it have a meaning?
Yeah, it means sound and it means communication. You know, like the ability to communicate using sound. You know, like you know, in Nigeria they will say Ariwo, Ariwo, and you know, it means communication.
And so, what's your origin then?
My African origin, I'm not sure. It must be Yoruba, because people keep telling me, African guys, especially Nigerians, they keep saying, you look just like Yoruba. But my Caribbean origin, which is as far back as I could go, is from Guyana. My parents were from Guyana, and my grandparents, one of them from Trinidad and one of them from Barbados. So it's like multicultural.
You're multicultural. Right,
Yes.
so, okay, so you've got this studio in Peckham now, and you've got all these bigwigs coming in. You're about 23 years old. You've given up your job now at this point, or are you still working as an electrician somewhere?
Giving up my job. Give up my job, man. I mean, I started to sign the dole. I signed the dole for about 6 months.
Yeah.
And then, you know, just to get myself on the way. And yeah.
And so what was a tune that launched you now? What was a tune? Because you're there producing, people were using your studio. I take it that you were actually making records yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I was making like I make this dub album, Dub Me Crazy, which I pressed 1,000 and then 500 was sitting there until like this DJ at Radio 1, guy by name, he's not wrong anymore, John Peel.
John Peel,
started to
wow.
play, yeah, John Peel. He started to play the album, and it took off. So that was on the dub circuit. On the Lovers circuit, which is like, you know, the regular reggae circuit, we're releasing like Davina Stone and Aquism, stuff like that. But the studio was really being used by a lot of the roots people, Twinkle Brothers, Shaka, I Benjamin, you know, Jimmy Lindsay. I mean, Mutumbi, a lot of people would tune in and use the studio, and a lot of Jamaican artists as well. They're using it. But you know, people love to pigeonhole people, and the first thing they were saying is that, well, Ariwa is good for roots, but you can't make lovers, or you can't make sophisticated music, you know. And
But to be sophisticated, what do they mean?
Well, I think they meant probably more commercial,
Right.
more
Okay.
commercial. And I one day, okay, we had Lee Perry in, and Lee Perry, he would book out the studio for like a week at a time and 2 weeks. So when he finished, I then decided I'm gonna do some covers, and of the cover versions I decided to do, one was Country Living. So I laid the rhythm track, Country Living, and I invited a few singers to sing on it. And everybody turned it down.
Really?
Everybody turned down the track. They said, no, the rhythm not right. No, man. Don't like this, don't like that. Even Sandra Cross turned it down.
What?
Thought, okay, I'm gonna go back to the drawing board. I listened again. I tried to see if I could change it. Couldn't change nothing. I went back again. And then I called back Sandra Cross and said, listen, come and sing the song for me this time. Sing it for me, I'm gonna pay you. And I got her back in, pick her up from her place in Brixton, Pim House, bring her around the studio. Bam, she had a cold that day. Vocals down, to her back, and that's it. When I finished the song and pressed it, for some reason I was very confident with that song, and I pressed 1,000. Normally I'd only press 500. I pressed 1,000. Went round to Dub Fender, went round to Jetstar, came back. By the time I came back to the studio, because I give Jetstar 500. By the time I came back to the studio, Jetstar was on the phone. He said, Mr. Neil, could I have 1,000? Could I have 1,000? That's all. I said, 1,000? Okay, nobody ordered 1,000 that day. I said, you're joking. He said, no, we need 1,000. I said, huh. So I went to the pressing plant, pressed 1,000, went back again, 1,000 finished in like 2 days.
Wow.
And that's when I realized, my goodness, we've got a hit in our hands. And that tune took off. Within 3 weeks, the tune sold about 5,000 copies. And you could say that's the song that actually I won't say it launched the label, but it put us more into everyone's like vocabulary, and
Certainly in their record box. But wasn't that Mighty Diamonds tune?
Yeah, but originally it's a song by the Stylistics. It's a soul tune originally. Diamonds did the first reggae version, and we actually took elements of the Mighty Diamonds version in our version, but it was a Stylistics song,
Well, let's have a little listen to it. Let's see if I can get it up here. Hold on a minute. Let's see if we can get it up. So Sandra Cross, now, I mean, that's actually...
If you work in
I
the
like to say
you should be using Monday.com.
with our reggae artists, certainly, when they had hits with those tunes back in the days, now they're performing it. It's almost like their pension.
Theme song. Oh, yeah, man. Yeah. Well, as I keep saying, the best thing that we could have done for Sandra was to credit her with being the vocalist on that song. It established her in the same line like Carl Thompson and Janet Kay. She was, and for the rest of that year, well, at the end of the year, she became the queen of Lovers Rock. Nobody could have touched her.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so did you go on to make an album with Sandra?
Yeah, several albums. Went on and we made Country Life is the album, because that had Country Living. Then the follow-up to Country Living, You're Lying. You're lying, stop your lying. All right. Then we had It's You, It's You, It's You, It's You. You know, that It's You. What else we had? We had Make Up the Breakup. Yeah, and that album was quite successful as well.
Well, let's have a little reminder of Country Living, because that's a tune that still gets played now. In case you've just joined us, thank you so much for choosing the great vibes and a good, glorious music live syndicated phone-in show. We're speaking to the legend that is Mad Professor, and he reminisces on this particular tune that he made with Sandra Cross. Do you remember it? If you know the words, do sing along.
Country living, where the air is fresh and clean, going back to natural living, where the grass grows tall and green, and the skies can be seen. Ooh. I say goodbye to London City. City life is not for me. Going where the stars shine brightly, and the sound of nature's voice lulls you to sleep. I'm going back. There's room enough for birds to fly. Time enough to try all the things you wanna do. Country life, all with you. Going back, I'm going back. Going back, I'm going back. I'm going back. Going back, I'm going back. Going back, I'm going back. There's room enough for birds to fly. Time enough to try all the things you wanna do. Country life, all with you. Going back, I'm going back. I'm going back to country living. That's where I was meant to be. Gonna take life nice and easy. Going back to my old hometown. Gonna live as I please. I'm going back. There's room enough for birds to fly. Time enough to try all the things you wanna do. Country life, all with you. I'm going back. There's room enough for birds to fly. Time
reckon that in the next couple of weeks I'm going to be applying for staff because I'm having to be an octopus around here. Everything's going off, buttons are going off that I haven't touched, phones are going off that I can't answer. Well, in case you've just joined us, thank you so much for choosing the great vibes and good glorious music live syndicated phone-in show. At the moment we're in conversation with Mad Professor, and he took us back to his that was his first hit, the one that really broke out. John Peel has a lot to answer for. John Peel actually was, I would say, one of the renegades of the music world because he would just play exactly what he wanted. Did he ever have you on for an interview?
Yes, and I did a couple of John Peel sessions for Ariwa, and this is when you'd go in and you'd make versions of some of your own records specifically for the John Peel show. And he was always championing like guys who wouldn't make it to top of the pops, people like Misty and Roots and Culture and just alternative artists.
So I want to fast forward now as we talk about alternative music. You are away quite a lot in far-flung places like Australia, New Zealand. Every time I see a post of you, you're somewhere, out in the sticks. Tell me about your journey. When was you first booked to play abroad? And what were you, how did you feel knowing that people that didn't actually look like you, but came out in their droves to see you? Was it like that when you first went?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the first time we went abroad was actually in the early days of Ariwa, just after I moved to Peckham. We got invited to do, as the Ariwa Posse, we got invited to do Germany. We did Switzerland. We did a couple of days in Switzerland. And we did Holland. And we would take a van or a minibus and put in this van the band, which was like a chrism. Then we would take Sister Audrey, Rankin Ann, Sandra Cross, Wild Bunch, sometimes Alan Kingpin, and we would go. It wasn't a tunnel then, we had to go by ferry. We'd go to Calais or to Austin and then drive into Europe, and we would play to like white people, European people, a lot who hardly spoke English at that time, and they would really respond, and the feedback was great. And for us it was overwhelming because we were getting dates and playing to places that, like compared with England, it was magnificent. Sometimes we playing to like 1,000 people, 1,500 people, and we're thinking, boy, people in England don't really acknowledge it, this thing, especially in London. London was quite snobby about music. I mean, places like Sheffield and Leeds and Manchester, they would be more welcoming. But London was like, oh no, if it's not like mainstream material, they weren't really interested. So to go to Germany and Switzerland, so was great. The trips to Australia, that came a little bit later. That came in 1990, when I went out there to open the Australia spring event. Myself and Maccabee, we went and we played like again thousands of people on the Sydney Harbour Bridge,
Wow.
And it took the label to places where we didn't expect. And Ariwa has always been a kind of pioneer label for that. Like like we're the first bill to go to Brazil and actually play dub. We played dub in Manaus, in Brazil. We played in Rio, and even going to Argentina. I remember going to Buenos Aires, walking around. Um, I mean, they couldn't really afford to buy the ticket, so I paid my own ticket, then got it back from them. And the first day after, in fact, the first couple hours after walking around Buenos Aires, I noticed there's no black people. So I said to the promoters, I said, hey man, this is fine, but where are the black people? How come you don't have no black people, not one black man inside? And they turned around and looked at me quite sorrowfully and said, no, we killed them all. And I remember shivering, thinking, you what? And they said, we killed them all. And then I learned more about Argentina's history with black people, with the African race, and how they were really going through some ethnic cleansing thing. And they basically, who they didn't kill, they kind of sent to the front of the war, the front line of the war, and the enemy killed them when they had the war with Paraguay and Uruguay, and Brazil. So there's a lot you learn as you travel, and that's one thing about music. Music teaches you about the world. It's quite.
Gosh, that took me by surprise.
Oh
Wow.
yeah.
So,
There's a lot.
well, okay, but bringing it forward now to the digital age. I mean, I recently came down to your studio with President. I think it must have been about 2 or 3 years ago,
President
and you still
Kennedy.
have your desk there. Are you,
Yep.
Have you changed over to digital? How did it affect you? Oh, you still have your desk there, so you're still making music on your desk.
Yeah, in this studio. I mean, my sons, they have a studio next door, which is a hybrid. That's digital. That's Pro Tools and Logic, and it's got a desk as well. And I mean, we've got all sorts of things. You could record on laptop. You could record on real desks. Because I don't like to throw in nothing, so I keep everything.
So
Yeah,
how did you
I
cope
keep
with the transition? Because when was it? Was it mid-80s? No, when did everyone start condensing their studio then to that area when people were making their music in their bedrooms because they didn't have such large desks to accommodate? When was that? Was that late 90s?
Well, I think the guys who had real desks, most of those guys, they decided that they're just gonna come out of business. I think the guys who came in the 90s, in the mid 90s, they're the ones who came in more on a digital tip, on a Pro Tools and Cubase and Logic, because one, it was affordable, and it was such a different technology from the tape, you see. But us from that time, if you look over there, you see there's a tape machine,
Yeah.
big, huge thing, which some people think is a washing machine. But yeah, you either grow up with that sound and that whole workings, or you grew up with like your laptop mentality where you could do everything on a laptop. And to me, it doesn't quite sound the same, but you got some people make good records on it, no doubt. But
So
I
are
personally,
are you still making music from your desk then? Have you not ventured
yes,
into?
absolutely. No. I would be the last man standing.
And are you still cutting vinyls? Or
Yep.
Yeah.
Still cutting vinyl. Vinyl is coming like gold dust now, man. It's
Yeah.
precious. And the waiting time for vinyl, like if you put in an order now, you might be lucky if you get it in 6 months
Really?
because all the majors have gone into vinyl and they're all like you know valuing vinyl. And vinyl is also very expensive. You get like an Elton John album or something that would sell for like £100 a copy, you know, or even some rare, hard to find Ariwa records would be £150.
Yeah, I was
You
going
know,
to ask you that
it's
actually. Yeah.
special things, and you can't get them. It's not like years ago, like with Country Living, where I could put in an order for like 1,000 and within 2-3 days I get it. No way, man. You have to wait months. It's
So when you go into the studio with an artist nowadays, then and even some of our seasoned artists who grew up with the 24 track are now
yeah.
making music, you know, digitally. When they come back to you, do they have a preference? Do they what are their comments? Are they happy to still work with you in that
most
way?
most people says it sounds a whole lot better the old way.
Right.
Everybody says they, they say it sounds real, you know, and the separation you get uh, from different instruments is really unique. You know, it's really outstanding because the digitally things tend to get blurred along the way. You know, it doesn't stand out individually as it should and as it ought to. So, yeah, but it's an expensive thing to do the real way. It's a slow thing because, like, even the time it takes to rewind a tape from the end to the finish, yeah, even that like 60 seconds or 100 seconds, that adds up to studio time.
Wow.
But there's a purpose for that also. It gives the singer a chance to get their breath and get themselves together before they do another take, you know?
So what
So,
about
you
the
know, swing.
youngsters? What about the youngsters? Do you have any younger singers coming through?
Yeah, we've got a lot of younger singers that my sons work with. They're fascinated by the whole tape and the whole real desk. They love it, man. They love it. But you know, they realize that it's a science of its own, you know, and it's not easy to really get the grip of it.
So who can we look forward to hearing from, like a new singer or so, younger ones?
Right. We've got a guy named Aija, young guy, next guy Abel. I don't know if you got those records as yet. If not, I'll get Joe
So,
to
yeah.
send them to you. Yeah, we've got a girl called Amara. We've got we've got yeah. We've got quite a few people. We've got the Young Lions. You know, that's
So you got a
that's
few
coming.
people coming up. So we're going to have to round up now. So tell us about your schedule coming up. I know that you're in the UK just for a hot minute and then you're off again. What's your
Yeah,
schedule looking like these days?
right. My schedule. Okay, we had a few things canceled because they moved their whole lockdown thing again. But apart from that, on August the 1st, I'm in Bristol. I'm doing a workshop.
Oh,
On the 7th, I'm at the Wild Canvas in Hertfordshire. That's a camping gig where people are going to be in tents and then are just going to be listening to dub. Then uh, August the 14th, I'm at VSA in Cardiff. Then on the 21st, I'm at a place in Barcelona. I'm not sure where. Then 28th is Tottenham. There's a carnival party in Tottenham in lieu of the Notting Hill Carnival. Then on the 29th, Sheffield. There's a festival in Sheffield. Then on the 11th, there's Positive Vibration Festival in Liverpool. That's nice because it's got quite a few different artists on that festival. On the 23rd, no, on the 12th, there's a festival in Beckenham, just up the road. Again, that's got a lot of soul and reggae artists. On the 18th, there's a festival in Folkestone. There's a ska festival with Susan Cadogan and the Specials, and yeah, all sorts of people. Then 19th, there's a festival in Barbados, yeah, near Bridgetown. And on the 2nd, there's a festival in Falmouth. I shouldn't say Falmouth.
So can I just ask you, if we wanted to see your schedule, where would we go? Have you got a website?
Yeah, www.ariwa.com.
And have you ever been in a band yourself? Sorry, so I'm going to get you to say that again in a sec, but it just came to my mind because I know that I've seen you, you know, you're on tour. What is it that you're doing? Are you playing music? Are you in a band? What is it that you're actually
Right.
doing on all these dates?
What I'm doing, I'm recreating the Ariwa studio on the stage. I run tapes and I run them through a desk. I might have a couple of artists and singers with me. That's what the show is all about. And we just in the studio making records, but on the stage
Wow.
and entertaining people while we're at it, you know.
Beautiful.
And just
Yeah, go on.
pissing them. Sorry, shouldn't say that.
I didn't hear what you said, but that's okay. I missed it. But okay, well, thank you so much. And once
Yes.
again, where can we go to learn more about
You
you,
could
to know your dates?
Go www.madprofessor.com or www.ariwa, ARIWA. Tony Williams used to say Aria, but it's Ari. Yeah, you remember Tony Williams.
Of course
God
I
bless
do.
him. Yes,
God bless him. Yes,
But
yes.
yeah, ariwa.com.
Beautiful. Well, I'm going to play an out-and-out dub now. It's called Spiritual Dub. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Right. Yeah, man. Well, it's one of those tunes that it just take your mind away, you know, and it's man. It's it's mental. It's
You hold a
enjoy
med to it, right? You just hold a meds. Yeah?
Yeah, man. Meditate. Yeah, that's the one.
Hold a meds. Mad Professor, thank you. Mad, not so mad, I think. I think you're a genius. Keep up the good work, and I will take you up on your offer to come out to one of those far-flung places where they love black people, not where they kill them. And watch you do your thing on stage. Thank you so much. This is Spiritual Dub. Thank you very, very much, Mr. Professor, Mr. Not So Mad at All.
Thank
Listen
you.
to that. Thank you. Have a blessed day.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Recording stopped.
Gonna say a very good afternoon to Claude Thornton. She says, hey DJ Elaine and Mad Professor, good afternoon. She sends some kisses. Also gonna say hi to George Williams. One and all, he says, good afternoon. Bless Jules Simpson says, good afternoon. Very inspiring story. A lovely song, he also goes on to say. Oh, that just kind of like whetted my appetite. Is that such a word, wetted? Sound like my grandson there. Here's another one from Mad Professor. Gotta get it on. When I heard it, I thought, ooh, ooh, ooh. Jacksons, Blues Away, if you were scratching your head there trying to remember. Where is that melody from? Many thanks to Mad Professor, who took some time out to speak to us about his journey to where he is now. So many questions to ask him. If you want to know more, do what I will do, which is to Google his name, Mad Professor, and find out all that you want to know. Well, make sure you keep it exactly where you got it as we prepare for our next guest. Our next guest, he's a rapper, he's a businessman, he's a record label, and he'll be with us shortly. He sent me this tune over and I thought I'd get it on the radio right after Mad Professor, because he also charts his journey of growing up in the music. It's called The Jet Set and Box Boy.
Right now, dreadlocks, why not get to find out since I come to England? So what? A pure yard man rule about ya. Now check it up, party. Well, let's I want you from the half shop, betting shop, mix me down. Now fashion, see?
When I was 6, my pops got the old gramophone, hooked up the turntables, lights and microphone. Yes. Made a phone call and